Okay? So, just to give you guys a little bit about my background, was when I was younger, I used to be a bad kid. I really was introverted, and I didn't like to talk very much. Right? I was always in front of a computer, playing games and stuff like that. So I never would actually step up here and start, talking. But in the beginning, if you start meeting people that speak a lot, right? Like you start hearing Chelan talk, you start hearing Alberto talk, you start to learn more and more on communication, right? What do you guys do? Where do you work yourself?
I'm in between.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Also customer service experience too.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of a, what is it? I guess, what do you call it? Oh, sorry, give me a chance. Give me a minute. Go ahead, I'll come up.
Oh, it's cool. Yeah, so a lot of people are not hungry. Like, when you're younger, when you're a kid, right? You always wanted to be like a firefighter. You want to be, oh, it's cool. So, long time no see, Robert. Pretty good. So yeah, a lot of people when they're younger, right? You always wanted to be like a director. You wanted to be a firefighter. You want to be something that, like you were ambitious. When you're a kid, you didn't have any of these skeptical minds where you kind of lost your dream, right? So when you get older, what happens is sometimes your life takes that away from you, right? The thing is, today all I'm trying to do is bring that back. Right? Because like some of you guys have dreams, but you guys put it towards the back of your head. You no longer have it, right? So one thing that one of the seminars I went to, actually a friend of mine went to. He actually went to a seminar by Micheal Dell. How many of you guys know who Micheal Dell is?
Dell computers?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So Micheal Dell, okay, so one guy in the audience said, Micheal, you created Dell computers, right? So how did you at 34 end up becoming, making $16 billion, right? Right, so what happened was, Micheal said this, he said, look, I'll teach you guys these 3 things and just remember it. Right? Micheal Dell had this thing called the 3 C's, which is content, commerce, and community. So Micheal said, don't worry about the content. Everyone has good content. You go to a Nike store, Nike has great shoes, right? It's awesome shoes. If you go to Adidas, Adidas has great shoes too. You go to K-Swiss, great shoes. So he said, do not worry about the content because everyone has good content. You go to Walmart, you go to Superstore, great content. You go to Blends, you go to Waves, you go to Starbucks, they're all good coffee, okay? So he said, do not focus on the content. So then he said, don't worry about commerce either, okay? Because commerce is the system that makes things work, right? Things that work, logistics, the coffee shop, right? How does coffee work? Cisco comes in, they bring coffee, people come in, everyone has a good system. So he says, commerce is not big important either, right? He says, what you want to know if you want to become successful is you want to understand community. Community is one of the most important parts that a lot of people miss out, right? If you want to grow anything, you got to really understand community. But a lot of us, we get jobs, we go to school, we do this thing called the 40-40 plan, which is like you work for 40 years, for 40 hours, and that's it, okay? You lost your dreams, when you were younger, you wanted, like, what did you want to be when you were younger?
I wanted to be an NHL hockey player.
NHL hockey player? What happened?
My mom couldn't afford to put me through hockey anymore because she was a single mom and it was too expensive when I went to Vancouver.
Yeah.
When I was 16 years old. She couldn't afford to put me through no more.
Okay.
That's what happened.
Yeah, don't lose that dream. Like, if you want to be a hockey player, go after it still.
Too
right?
old now. 35.
Age doesn't matter. Okay, let me ask you a question. If I was 50 years old, okay, if I was 50 years old and then there's a kid that's, like, Roger, how old are you? I'm going to put you on the spot.
21.
You're 21. Okay. If I was 50 and you're 21, there's a statistics in the newspaper that said, what's the most likely, like, if you're at 50, who's going to die first? A lot of people say the guy that's 50 years old, right? But again, let's look at it this way. They say the #1 car crashes are done by people within 20 to 30. Okay? So I'm sorry. If you're 50, you already lived through your 20s, right? So you don't, not to put you on the spot, just don't speed when you're driving. Okay? So that's the #1 rule. So let's go back to this. A lot of people, they work for 40 years, for 40 hours, without giving it a thought. That makes no sense to me sometimes, right? Like, you need to have your dream. You need to bring it back somehow, right? Right? Because, like, a lot of us, 25 to 65, right, forget about this. When you hit 25 to 65, you gotta think about this, man. Life is short.
It looks like prison, man.
Yeah.
25 to 65 is a sentence.
Yeah.
9 or 5.
It is a sentence. It is. Okay? So the thing is, a lot of us forget about this thing called hunger. Okay? Hunger is so important, right? Let me ask you guys a question. If you're hungry, like, say you didn't eat all day, okay, you're starving, you're like, oh man, I need food. Oh man, I really need food, right? What happens to you? You get irritable. You're just like, oh, I need to go buy that burger. And then you gotta start eating that burger, right? So hunger is also a form of motivation. You wanna, because without hunger, there's no motivation to begin. Does that make sense? Julius Cesar, Julius Cesar from 100 BC to 55 BC, he was actually the #1 general in the Roman Empire, right? #1. This guy was incredible, right? He took legions and a whole bunch of Romans to cross the English Channel, okay? There was an English Channel, he was gonna battle the English at the time, right? So Julius Caesar had a very small army, right? Very, very small. It's not too big, it's very small. And the English army was like 10 times the size, right? So Julius Caesar, knowing a good leader he is, said, you know what? Since we're already here, we're gonna sail across the English Channel. We're gonna go right across. So now he told all the leaders, all the generals in his group to burn their boats. Why do you think he burned their boats? We either live or we die, okay? So then now, because he wanted his guys to have commitment, everyone was afraid. They're gonna say, holy smokes, this army's too big. We're not gonna fight against this big army. It's too big, it's way too big. So what happened was he told all the generals, burn it all. Burn all the boats. Right? So once he burns all the boats, all these guys know that, you know what, now we're committed 100%. If we go up this army, we either die, or we either win, and then continue living. Right? So what Julius Caesar did was he created hunger. Right? Hunger is what creates the energy to begin. It really is. Right? So a lot of us, when we grow up, we tend to forget this, right? Like, I don't know what your dreams are, right? A lot of you guys probably have dreams yourselves, right? Focus on that dream. Go back to it, right? So that's the thing about hunger, right? And there's a lot of different things, right? Like, a lot of people, like 85% of our society, right, learn technical skills, technical knowledge, right? But 15% of people forget people skills, right? Does that make sense? Like technical skill, like everyone goes to school, they learn programming, or they learn how to be like an engineer, or they learn how to do programming, but they lose on people skills, right? People skills is very important, right? Like, am I going to be, like, say one day Shalan gets married, okay? I want to see that. Shalan decides, he finds a wife, right? He finds a wife and he's like, I'm going to get married, right? But the thing is, a lot of marriage fall apart, right? Because they lack the people skills. People skill is very important. You got to remember, like, does that kind of make sense, guys? Right? So I'm going to talk a little bit more on this thing called dreams.
You found me a wife yet?
No. You can ask her right now, maybe. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about dreams, actually. So in dreams, there are things that people want. What do you guys want, right? Where do you guys want to go? Okay, how about this? Where do you guys want to go in the world? Right? We're all obviously right now, like, we're not all financially good, but let's have a dream. Let's go back to it, right? What do you want? Like, where do you want to go? Alberto, where do you want to go?
Well, would I want to go to Egypt?
You want to go to Egypt? How long?
I don't know. Ride the camels for maybe 3 months.
3 months?
Climb the pyramid. Check it out.
Don't you want to do it for the next 2 years?
Yeah, well, travel anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? Louis?
Traveling seems nice. Yeah, I would do that too.
Where do you want to go?
I would go to, I just want to chill on the beach, just relax.
You want to relax?
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Shalan?
Probably something like Louis. Maybe go to the beach, Hawaii or something, and stay there for a long time.
It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Oh, my dream? Well, I don't see myself on the beach, that kind of thing, but are we talking like vacated kind of dream, or just any dream?
Like,
any dream?
Yeah, any dream.
Okay,
Any dream.
my dream would be to see people in places like, I don't know, maybe third world countries, or even in our community, like their lives be transformed.
Oh, that's good.
Transform lives from dark to light, or whatever, from trouble to good to better, you know?
Yeah, from trouble to a better person, right?
Yeah, huge.
I'm travel Europe.
Travel Europe?
Dude. Yeah.
That'd be cool, right?
Yeah.
What about you, Roger?
Around the same to traveling Europe, there's so many different cities and stuff down there, right? It's a completely different lifestyle or not. Definitely want to travel Europe, check out the whole thing maybe for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be something.
Like, see, those are the kind of things that you want to think about. Like, it's very common, it's common sense, and it's very simple, right? But we tend to forget this. Like, you know, when you get older, something happens. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the job, right? Who knows, right? But you want to get back to dream, right? But sometimes it's not always about the dreams. Like, it's not about the materialistic things, like, oh, travel around the world or buying fancy cars, right? Sometimes it's even about the character, right? Like, because a lot of us we become this thing called this creature called employee, right? Like, you know, when you get a job and then you work for a boss, you become this employee person that listens to the boss all the time. Unless you become a manager, it's the same thing. You're still part of a system that makes you think a certain way, right? But a lot of people don't break out of that mold, right? Go back to when you were a kid, right? It doesn't make any sense. Oh, I'm an adult. Guys, I'm an adult now. I'm happy with $15 per hour, guys. That's it. I'm happy. Right? Seriously. You know, back in the 1800s, back in history, let's go back maybe 200 years ago. Mozart. You know, Mozart never worked a day of his life. He never. Since he was a kid, his dad saw potential in him playing piano, right? So you know what his dad did? He said, you know what, listen, I'm going to make you play in different parts of the city. You're going to go play in this group, you're going to go play in this group, you're going to go play in this group, you're going to go play this group, play this group, play this group, play this group, and play to different groups out there, right? So what happened was Mozart became an entrepreneur himself. He kept failing. People didn't even respect him, right? So what happened was he kept playing until some people started to recognize him. They started saying, oh, wow, this guy's amazing. He changed the way classical music is. Because back then, classical music used to be very formal. Well, Mozart went through so much turmoil in his life. Like, he didn't get along with his dad, he didn't get along with his sister, his 2 kids died, like passed away, right, during premature birth. So he used that to kind of fuel his passion, but he would never get a job at the time, right? Because he was, you know, he believed in what he wanted to do, right? Today, all I'm trying to do is very simple, is to bring back that dream, bring back that hunger, right? If you love to travel, then do it, right? I know, of course, this guy doesn't make any sense. This guy, I don't have money right now, guys. I don't. I make $20,000 per year. You're telling me to go travel for 1 year. Then make that happen, okay? So that's it. That's the things and that's the character. Like, who do you want to become, right? Like, who do you want to become? It's true, okay? Because without the character, if your character is always an employee, that's fine. You're part of the 95% out there, right? I don't want to be part of that, right? I want to break out of the mold, right? Thing is, character is who you choose to want to become, right? So the third one, this is the most important one. It's actually the people you impact. People are actually what motivates you the most. It really is. Without people, if you have kids, you know what to do, right? Your motivation is, I want my kids to have a good education. I want them to have a good life where they don't have to worry. I want them to see me every single day. I want to see mom and dad, right, every day, right? So that's the people, right? Your parents are getting older too, right? Right? If you guys are in your 20s, you're at your prime. Why are you sitting back and partying all the time? Every time I go downtown, I see people, oh, they spend $200 on drinks and alcohol. That makes no sense to me, right? Like Shalan, he spends his money on fitness, which is good. Right? Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Is that true, Shalan? You spend money on
Fitness?
Yeah.
I think so. Once in a while, I have McDonald's.
Yeah.
But I eat healthy, and most of my money goes towards healthy lifestyle, healthy living. So indirectly, it goes towards a healthy fit lifestyle. I would say in general, as a whole.
See, that's awesome character, right? Healthy living, fitness, right? So that's the character that Shalan has, right? Shalan has good character when it comes down to fitness and health, except for the McDonald's part.
Yeah. I mean, if I do personal training, and then they do behind the scenes, what he does behind the scenes, like going to Dairy Queen and McDonald's, then But I do that once. I really cut down, because but if they do an expose, then it won't be good, But overall, I would say that eating healthy has its rewards, and spending whatever you want, the quality of your time, investing, you get the rewards of what you put your time in, what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, this is what motivates you, right? Like this is what creates hunger. If you're very, because a lot of us, okay, let me give you guys this thing that I learned at one of the seminars I went to. Okay. A third of you guys are going to be complainers. You're just going to be like, you know what? I can't do this. I'm not good enough. You know, like I have this situation right now. Everyone has a problem. Okay, everybody. You can't tell me you have a problem because everyone has problems. It's true, okay? So if you keep complaining, you're never going to get anywhere. Carl Jung said there's 3 complexes in the mind. There's shadow, ego, and complacency, right? So one of them is shadow. If you're skeptical, think of it like this. Get rid of the skepticism and think of it, wouldn't it be more logic to think positively than negatively? It would be. If you lost $200, I could be like, I could keep thinking about it. I could be like, man, I lost $200. Or I could just go buy it and say, you know what, that's lost. Let me see how I can make that back. Right? It's not a big deal. It'll come back. Money comes and goes, right? Right? So that's one of the biggest, you know, downfalls, right? The second one is complacency. Complacency means you're happy the way things are, right? I work as a manager in chapters, and I'm happy, right? I'm making $15 per hour, I do stocks, I'm pretty happy with where I am, right? But is that where you are, right? Is that your vision? Like, do you want to, like, you're telling me you want to go to Egypt, right? You want to go to Egypt for 3 months. Is that management job going to really get you there?
Probably not.
Probably not. You're probably going to have to keep working, and then 2 years later, then you could go to Egypt. Probably not. If you have kids, you're probably going to be like, okay, you know what, let me just wait till they grow up. But now, let's go back to this, right? 20 years later, you're already 45 years old, right? So do it now, right? If Facebook, okay, let's look at Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg is 28 years old. I'm 28 years old too, right? If this kid, that made $10 billion from Facebook, is able to do it within 3 or 4 years, that makes no sense to me, right? Like, he just created a thing that existed, like, it existed in the 90s, right? It wasn't a new idea. He just took something old and then just made it his own and made it big, right? Sergey Brin, Larry Page, they're 32 years old right now, right? They created Google. There was search engines back then. There was Yahoo. There was Ask. There was Ask Jeeves, right? Back in the 90s when there was dial-up, remember? Right? I don't know about you, Louis. Do you remember dial-up?
I used to have dial-up.
You used to have dial-up?
Yeah, it was really slow.
Okay. So yeah, the thing is, you don't want to be complacent, right? Complacency is something that makes you very comfortable with your life. The third one is you want to be, there's this thing called, this guy, okay, I went to this course, it was a real estate course a long time ago. This guy named Pip said, if you want to be successful, you want to be a contrarian. Contrarian just means the opposite of normal. Okay? It's weird as it sounds. It's weird as it sounds.
Excuse me, what was his name? Did you say Pimp?
Pip, yeah.
Pimp? Pimp?
Oh,
sorry, no, I thought you said Pimp. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Okay, I'll use Pimp then. I'll use Pimp.
Oh, okay.
I'll use Pimp.
It's a very peculiar name.
So Pip said, if you want to be successful, you got to be a contrarian. You do, right? Be a contrarian, do the opposite of normal, okay? If you want to be like everyone else, where everyone's working as a manager, doing this, complaining about barbecues, complaining about they can't pay their house mortgage, then fine. That's up to you, right? No one's going to stop you, right? I can't change you. I can't change you within the first 30 minutes, right? The only thing I can do is kind of help you shift your mindset just a little bit. That's all I want to do. Just shift it so you kind of understand it, right? The third one is becoming a winner. I don't know how to put this word. Like, I don't know any other thesaurus word to replace that, but it's to kind of be like a winner in terms of yourself, right? How can you make yourself be different from everyone else and make yourself not the guys you see on TV, not oh, look at that Luongo, right? The goalie player. That guy makes like $10 million, right? Why are you idolizing people like that, right? Rome wasn't created that way either, right? You know, Augustus, the first Roman emperor, he's the first guy that said, I'm going to rule all of Rome, right? He's the first guy that did that, right? And he did it. He took over, people hated him, people wanted to kill him, but he said he's going to do it because he had a vision, right? He wasn't anyone special. He was actually broke. After the war, he didn't have any money, but he had a vision. People saw that. People said, one guy came up to him and said, you know what, hey Augustus, you know what, I really like how you speak. I'm going to give you a house. I'm going to give you money, and I want you to make yourself a powerful image, right? So that's what he did, right? Because he's a winner. He wasn't complacent, and he wasn't a complainer either. But he learned a lot from Julius Caesar. Augustus was Julius Caesar's adopted son, right? But Julius Caesar died at the end, right? He got assassinated because he had too much vision and people didn't like him. But Augustus came out and said, you know what? I'm going to do what Julius Caesar, my father, did, right? So that's what I'm trying to say, right? So the thing is, this is very important in terms of, you know, personal growth, right? Here, I'm going to show you one more thing. Put thoughts, words. So of course, none of us can change who we are like that. There's no way. There's no way. You just can't. There's no way you can change it, right? Because you know, like how old are you? Sorry to ask your age.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, 29.
You're 29. Can I right now change how you think for the last, like 29 years? Okay, you've been through 29 years. I didn't know you for the last 29 years.
Yeah.
Can I right now change the way you think?
Like right
Like,
away?
just right away, just
No.
completely change it. Why?
Because there's so many things that went in there for 29 years.
Yeah. There's no way you can change how you think, because you formed that thinking, right? The only way you can change your thinking is through a decision, right? Because this is where there's this criminology guy who said, okay, there's a guy that did studies on criminals, right? Right? There's a guy that did studies on criminals. Because he was like wondering, why do criminals that go to prison think like this? So they had a bunch of psychologists trying to figure out how they think, right? So a lot of them, so they created this thing called the input to destiny situation. Okay? So this goes all the way to action. Okay. So what this is what you input in your head, whatever you input. You watch TV, you watch the news every single day. News is depressing. It's very depressing. There's nothing positive about it. But if you watch the news every day, guess what? You'll start becoming negative, very skeptical. Because what you input in your head becomes your thoughts. You're like, yeah, did you see that? Yeah, did you see that war? In my head. And you start talking about it. Right? The words comes out, right? You're just like, now you're talking about all the bad things that's happening in the world. So now you're taking action and doing it. You're just like, yeah, there's nothing good about, you know, our society. It closes your mind, right? And it starts forming a habit. You're doing it every day now. You're reading a newspaper. You're looking at the bad things in news. So actually what happens is everyone that you know, you start taking it out on all the people that you know. And then it starts becoming your character. You start becoming that skeptical person, like this is wrong, and then that becomes your destiny. It's the same with the people in Hastings, right? A lot of people say, "Oh man, those guys use too much drugs," right? Let me ask you a question. Were those guys like that when they were a kid? Probably not, right? They're not. It's just one day they said they watched their friends. They watched their friends. One of their friends said they took out, I don't know, a joint. They're like, "Oh man, this is good. It's really good. This roach is so good, right? Try it. Just try it. Oh no, I'm good. Just come on, just try it. You're not cool? Just try it." Okay, I like it, but I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to do it again. Okay, day 2. Oh, come on, you did it last time. No, I don't want to do it. 3rd day, do it again. Oh, okay, fine. So now, the input, whatever input you put in, becomes your thoughts. Now you're always thinking about it. You're like, "Oh man, I really like that high. It's so good, man. It's so good. I really like it, man." So now you start talking about it all the time. You're like, "Oh man, I need some green stuff. I need some grass, man." Right? So then now you call up, you take the action. Your